Can I tell you a story? Once upon a time, there was a ganef. Do you know what a ganef is? Don't worry if you don't know. It is a very simple definition. It's an acquirer of goods by less than legal means. The thief. But in truth, this ganef was actually a ganevet. She lived in a shtetl, in one of the villages of Central Europe, and she was a very good ganef. You never really knew exactly what was going to disappear. You'd leave your purchases on the shop counter for a second, and they'd be gone. You'd take your boots off for a nap, and the next morning, that lovely lady would be in her stall in the market, willing to sell them back to you at a discount. Her husband, by the way, was a ganef too. Every Shabbat, religiously like clockwork, he would make to fall off the back of a truck a few challahs, some wine, a chicken or so, and this is who they were. They were reviled by the community, but they were still members of the community and therefore accepted, as was the way of the shtetlach of that time in that place. And life happens as it does. And one day it came time for this ganevet, for her soul to leave this world, as her body died, and to go up to the heavenly court and there to be judged. And when she got there, the court decreed that she should not be let into heaven. It wasn't by the way that she didn't have the merit to get into the heaven. The ganef had a kind of a rough moral code. She never stole someone's last kopek or last slice of bread. She never stole from someone poorer than she. It was just that the angels in heaven had gotten used to keeping their boots and did not want them taken. And so the ganevet was sent all the way down to hell. Many of you have been told that there is no such thing as hell in Judaism, yes? This is wrong. There is a hell in Judaism, and it is a place of anxiety and consternation. All the sofas in hell are covered in plastic. Now, when the ganevet got down to hell, she wanted to meet the boss. She was a very good thief. How could she pass up the opportunity to meet the greatest thief of them all? And so she requested a meeting with the CHO. And she was ushered into his office. It took you a second there. Joe liked that one. And as she steps into the Satan's office, he is rushing around like a madman. He's very busy, the Satan, the master of hell. And he says, I can't talk to you right now. Just wait there for a minute. I'll be back. And he rushes out of the office. She waits. And a few minutes later, he's back, and he's like, I still can't talk to you. I'm very busy. And he rushes back out again. And she waits again. But you know what? Human nature can only be kept at bay for so long. And so all of a sudden, what does she start to do? She starts looking around to see what she can see. And what does she see on the desk of the Satan? She sees a folio, a folder. And she opens this folio, and there, in legal prose, in black and white, is the case against humanity. Every jot and tittle, every fist raised in violence, every word said in anger, every moment of abuse, every abuse of the poor, every devaluation of a human life, all there. You have to remember that when the Holy One created the world, the angels, for truth and peace, said to God, don't do it. These creatures of yours, they will pervert truth. They will twist peace. Don't do it. But the Midrash teaches that the Holy One threw them down all the way to earth and didn't listen to them and created humanity nonetheless. But this Satan finally had the case to make. And once that case was raised before the Blessed Holy One, humanity would have to be undone. There was no option. A few seconds later, the Satan enters back into the office, face filled with an evil and malicious glee, rubbing his hands just like in the cartoons, and saying, "Finally, I've got it. A few seconds more, a few minutes more, and this will all be done, and I will take the case to God." But when the Satan arrived, no one was in the office. And more importantly, the folio was gone. And hell was in uproar. All the undersecretaries and the deputy undersecretaries, you know what I'm talking about. Like the paper was flying, the demons were screaming. It's just like Washington, it's fine. And everything was going nuts, and no one could find the Ganevet, and no one could find the case against humanity. Not for love or money. Except the next morning, when heaven opened its gates for business, there she was, sitting casually outside, leafing through the folio. She's been in heaven ever since, and the angels have gotten used to buying their boots back at a discount. The rabbis of old believed that we as human beings had a dual nature. Our drives were separated between the Yetzer HaTov and the Yetzer Hara. Yetzer HaTov, the inclination to do good in this world, and the Yetzer Hara, the inclination to do not so much, And to be honest, these rabbis were obsessed with the idea that if we could just shed the Yetzer Hara, our inclination to do wrong, everything would be okay. All our dreams would come true, salvation would come, the world would be a better place if we could just get rid of that part of ourselves. And I have always felt a great deal of concern about that teaching. First of all, is it even possible to separate humanity from itself? And second of all, is it a good idea? And so I was delighted many years ago, when I came across this teaching from Rav Avram Yitzchak Cohen Cook, Rav Cook. He was the first chief rabbi of Israel. In fact, the first chief rabbi of Mandate Palestine before there was a state of Israel. A remarkable human being who combined many streams of Jewish life in a way, a genius in his own right, and a poet and a singer and a lover of life. A remarkable figure was Rav Cook. And this is what he has to say. When you think of a human being's abilities, both for good and for ill, all of their abilities, the point of them is to use them in a manner that is good. And even when it comes to what we call the Yetzer Hara, the evil inclination, it is poor advice to weaken or diminish it. For sometimes they are needed for a good purpose. And if you weaken them, a person will not be able to benefit from them. Therefore, the best amongst past is that those abilities all be in their fullness and their goodness. Only this, let the drive for good and be in charge of the soul, and the other powers be subject to its rule. For in truth, even what we consider to be bad at times is in fact good in its place, in the right boundaries. And therefore, if a person can use their Yetzer Hara in a way that strengthens their abilities for good, that is better advice than trying to weaken what is bad. For in the weakening of the powers of the soul, there will be a loss, a true loss for the good. In the past 100 years, we have undergone an awakening about a number of the ills of the world that we live in. Racism, sexism, homophobia, transphobia, the way that we blame the poor, the way that we castigate the mentally ill, the way that we use the material of the earth against it to our own detriment. We have become awake and aware of many of the things that we have to change. And there is way too much work to do. But I worry. In the path to do good, is there a part of yourself that you wish wouldn't be there? Is there a piece of yourself that you wish that you could cut away, lop off, that you find unacceptable, unproductive, unredeemable? If that is so, and you are living in a place where there is a piece of you that you are trying to get rid of, I bless you not to do it. For every part of you was created for a purpose. Rather, it's just a matter of finding what it's good for. The parts of ourselves that we sometimes deem bad, our brashness, our pride, our aggression, our anger, our intemperance, our lack of patience, our sometimes rudeness. The list goes on and on and on of all the things that we might be labeled as dysfunctional. Each of them has a purpose and a point that I think can aid in the redeeming of this world. And so my bracha this year for all of you is that every piece of your soul, may you honor it and care for it and use it to fix the world. Shana Tova.